Angus Young, how you doing?
Good, Becko.
The Offspring.
How's it going, Becko?
Dave Grohl, how you going, mate?
Good, man.
Pete, it's been a long time coming.
Oh, Becko, hasn't it indeed?
We go inside the dressing room, speak to the biggest names in music,
Keith Richards, the Rolling Stones.
and crack open their esky.
That's exactly how I imagine you, by the way, sitting opposite me with a vodka and orange.
You're a discerning chap. This is The Rider.
Yes, welcome back to The Rider. Well, you really feel like it's coming into a golden age of touring again with so many festivals being announced, and we're coming up to Splendour in the Grass this weekend. There's a couple small setbacks as well with the Yeahs having to pull out. It sounds like due to COVID, the Avalanches are stepping in on the lineup, and also a controversy between the promoters and the New South Wales Police over under-18s. We've been reading about that all this week. Also, Midnight Oil. Currently on the European leg of their Resist tour, and they've announced 3 shows to replace the shows that were missed due to COVID, or in Canberra's case, a whole bunch of lightning and rain. Cairns has been announced with Busby Maru as their support act. That's August 25. Darwin, August 27 with Leah Flanagan. And Canberra, October 1 with Emily Waramara, King Stingray, Moni Lisa. It is a Frontier touring show, but Yours and Ours are helping out with that last show in Canberra, and they let something slip on their social media saying October 1 is Midnight Oil's last show. That was actually corrected within a few hours, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. I mean, it seems likely the Oils would go out with a bang, and I don't know if Canberra would be their last concert. I'm thinking something like maybe the Domain in Sydney, but that remains to be seen. But Midnight Oil announcing their 3 shows to make up for the lost shows during this tour. Now, this week on The Rider, Aaron Bruno, but you know him as Awolnation.
I just heard it at the grocery store a couple days ago, actually, and it was funny because as I was walking out, it was perfectly in rhythm to my stride as I was walking in it. And I kind of felt like embarrassed because I'm like, I hope no one realizes, but no one knows.
There's Aaron talking about hearing his massive hit Sail while he was shopping for groceries in the supermarket, which would be kind of weird, and it's also kind of flattering as well. He's got a brand new covers album, which is out now, called My Echo, My Shadow, My Covers, and Me. And this was all done during COVID, as many albums were, but he called on many local friends in the LA area, like Jewel, like Beck, and even Branden Boyd from Incubus, and it's full of incredible covers. This is my favourite, teaming up with Beck on this one, Eye in the Sky. And then there was his cover of Midnight Oil's Beds Are Burning. And the timing was perfect when that came out. It was the same week as Midnight Oil announcing that they were wrapping things up with a brand new album and a final tour, and it just seemed to happen at all the right time. Awolnation's new album, My Echo, My Shadow, My Covers, and Me. I can see Aaron just dialing in now on Zoom. There he is. Aaron, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
My main girl, Billy, is with us too. Oh, wait, she just stepped down.
My cat runs off when I start doing interviews because I don't think he likes the loud noises and the raised voices. So I think he freaks out a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Drama we cause our animals, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great setup, by the way. How long have you had the studio there at home, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it's not in my house, but so my studio, I built the studio, kind of like the studio of my dreams. And there was this horrible fire here a couple years back called the Woolsey fire. And anyways, the studio burned. So this is actually the second, this is 2.0. So I don't know. I think it's been like maybe 2 years that we've had it now.
There's so many studios that got lost, there's some of those fires down in Malibu and everything, a few years back.
Yeah.
And God.
Yeah, I live in Malibu. That's where it happened. Yeah.
Congratulations on getting the album out because, number one, that was not an easy one to do, in isolation and trying to get that together and try and organise something when you're all just sitting at home doing nothing. It must have been a tough one at times to make happen.
You know what? Well, thanks for saying that. It was actually easier than I thought it would be because, if I tried to make this record today, everybody would be too busy, So I actually seized the opportunity of people's boredom and the whole world being shut down. You know, everything we were used to doing. I'm sure you were able to continue to work from home and stuff like that. And so I was able to do my thing in the studio. And it was a great opportunity for me to feel still connected to other humans. By, you know, take Beck, for example, or Jewel, right? They would send me their vocal and I was able to, you know, listen to them singing on these songs, even though they weren't here in person in the studio. So it actually ended up being therapeutic for me.
I bet it was, because I mean, LA's lockdowns was also really harsh. I mean, I was talking to Branden Boyd a few weeks back, and he was saying how, you know, you could only leave just for like 3 things pretty much, you know, to go and get supplies, to go to you know, get fuel and to go to hospital. And that's pretty much it. Ever
since I was a kid loving punk rock and hardcore music, rules are made and they're very tempting to be broken. Yeah. Let's just say, but it was a different kind of situation. They didn't let us, they closed down the beaches nearby, but I wasn't having that. I mean, by definition, surfing is the best way to socially distance.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So they were arresting people for being around being nowhere near anyone, you know? So, I mean, you know, I found the beaches that were open still. I wasn't going to ever stop surfing. I mean, so that was that. But yeah. And Branden is on the record. So that's cool that you talked to him recently.
His song was great. That was our first taste of the album, obviously, when that came out, Wind of Change. But the Aussies were all very excited about Midnight Oil's cover, Beds Are Burning. And
I bet.
And that came out just as they announced their final album, final tour, and pretty much a retirement. So the timing was perfect when that came out.
Yeah, the timing ended up being really weird and spooky on this record, you know, from Wind of Change, which, you know, obviously the political ties to that song and what's going on in the world were kind of strange. And then the Midnight Oil tie. And I just remember as a kid going, okay, this guy's Australian and he has the best and coolest and weirdest dance moves I've ever seen. And the video was so haunting. And I remember going like, this guy just is free. You know, this guy dances and expresses himself so unusually. And it was a big inspiration. And, you know, I'm always looking for, everybody knows the best dancers of all time, whether it's Elvis or whoever, right? Michael Jackson and all this and that. But like, I'm always looking for the rogue weirdos. And I feel like, you know, he's been a bit of an influence for how I express myself, which I'm not a good dancer at all. But if I'm authentically feeling the music in that moment and I just let myself go, that usually seems to be the most believable moment of a show. And so, yeah, he's a great inspiration to me.
Yeah, Midnight Oil is always a weird one for me because I come over to the States a lot just to visit my friends pretty much, and I'm often seeing or hearing Midnight Oil in supermarkets and
right.
on radio stations, and it's the one band I never thought would translate to an American audience. But when you think about it, they're a very political band, and it does translate across all regions really.
Yeah, well, good music is good music, right? And so I'm sure they never expected to be in, you know, the grocery store in where I grew up in Westlake Village in the suburbs of LA, you know. And just the other day, I hear my songs sometimes in grocery markets, and I was just having this conversation with my engineer Eric. That's such a strange experience, but it certainly is a huge indication that a song has gone an extremely long way if you're hearing it in a grocery store.
Well, Sail is so raw and it's on the extremities, you know, when it comes to sound.
Yeah.
And you must have been so surprised when that got so many streams and it went sort of was a diamond, you know, as well, which is a huge certification. No one gets diamond, but I mean that's obviously a song you didn't expect to be that big.
No, I just thought it was cool, and I was gonna be proud when I showed my brother smoking a joint in my car or something like that. You know, this was like over 10 years ago when I wrote that song now, and I since then, I was a lot younger then, but I don't smoke weed anymore. But I was a huge fan of it for a while. just to give you a little bit of insight.
Well, you live in Los Angeles. I mean,
Yeah. But, that was kind of where I was at, just, okay, maybe a couple of my buddies will think the song is cool, because I was really proud of it. And I was excited to share with my friends and family and my little crew I was hanging out with at the time, but certainly didn't expect it to be reached all the way to your neck of the woods, for example.
Yeah.
So it remains one of the strangest accidents I've ever experienced. And I just heard it at the grocery store a couple of days ago, actually. And it was funny because as I was walking out, it was perfectly in rhythm to my stride as I was walking in it. Yeah. And I kind of felt like embarrassed because I'm like, I hope no one realizes, but no one knows that it's me on there, So I've been pretty lucky to remain fairly anonymous, when it comes to my personal life, for sure, in public.
Well, that's a rare thing in LA, by the way, as well, because there's a lot of people who are the opposite, and they're just want to get into a nightclub and get a photo out the front, and it's nice to be able to actually enjoy that in a place that's so materialistic.
Definitely. And I also think that people are so used to seeing anyone from Kanye West to whatever huge pop star there is, on a daily basis. So luckily, I'm just at the very bottom scraps of any importance in a pop culture way.
So this is your fifth album. So it's My Echo, My Shadow, My Covers and Me, recorded in lockdown. Is the name significant to you? I mean, to me, if you were obviously alone in isolation with all these artists working remotely, that's how I took from it. Yeah, well, there's an old folk song called We Three, My Echo, My Shadow and Me. And so I just kind of did a play on that. And it seemed appropriate. It was a time, I think, for everybody of isolation and becoming more comfortable with ourselves and in being alone. I went through it, the whole deal with my wife and my dogs, and I'd still see people from time to time in a safe way that I believe to be safe. And it's weird because it feels like that's over now. So it's interesting to talk about this album because I made it in the height of terror and fear, right? Where you would open your phone, you're like, oh my God, what are they saying now? This is, and so I just dealt with it through music, and music has always been my therapy to escape madness, in a lot of ways. So no one knew what tomorrow was going to bring, and we still don't today, but I love music so much. It's always been the way I get through heartache, breakups, and everything in between, so I encourage anyone else to always turn to music if they feel something from it, because it's easy. Yeah, I can imagine this was probably a really good, cleanser for you, with all the, stuff going on around the world. The fact that you could still collaborate with people, over Zoom and share vocals with them. And how did it work with that? I mean, you were obviously sending them how you'd like to hear the vocal, and then they would take that on board. Is that how it would happen? Well, yeah, I would usually sing the whole damn song, and I would sing their parts. And Jewel, and with the ABBA song, Take a Chance on Me, I mean, I sang all the parts I wanted her to sing because I didn't want to give any reason for anyone to bail, Yeah, so yeah. I would do the whole thing and separate each vocal so they could open it up and go, okay, I see. I did all the busy homework first, so they could just go, okay, this is how the harmony goes. These are the lyrics, and try to make it easy on everybody, and some of her stuff I did was really high and hilarious to sing, but I did it, and some of it's actually blended into that song with her. But most every artist on there was so professional and so easy and inspiring, and it was just a really easy, aside of the emotional, scare that we all as a human race were experiencing. It was a very enjoyable experience for me. Yeah, Take a Chance on Me. Yeah, I like there's a bit of sense of humor to it, really, because it's a hilarious song. Yeah, it's a hilarious song. How'd you meet Jewel? Did you bump into her somewhere? Did you meet through mutual friends? Yeah, kind of through mutual friends. I still haven't met her in person. Funny enough. No way! Wow. Yeah, I'd love to meet her in person, but she was doing a fundraiser for a charity she's involved in, and I got asked through a mutual friend to do an acoustic performance for that
event that she was hosting, and I did that. And I did a Beck song, actually. I covered a Beck song from one of my favorite albums called Sea Change. And then as a result, Beck reached out to me and said, hey, that was really cool, or something nice like that, or that was really pretty, thank you, or whatever. And I was flattered and blown away that Beck even heard the thing I did of his song. And then I was in the middle of, concocting this covers album. So I asked I saw it as an opportunity, and I asked both of them, hey, since you want to be involved in this thing, they both said yes, surprisingly, because you figured they'd all be busy, but so many people at time, they're looking for art or music to make. And again, I just feel really lucky. This album wouldn't have been possible today.
Well, it's a lot of bands use doing covers as a way of warming up to doing some originals. And I know the Stones by accident came out with like a blues covers album a few years back because they were doing all these blues covers just to warm themselves up in the studio. And then they all of a sudden had 15 songs in the can, and they were like, let's put that out first, and then we'll put the originals out later on. Did you find that was a way of doing that, or was it just a nice in-between album?
I think all of the above. It was necessary to do something. I started writing some new songs in between these covers, but I just released the last album called Angel Miners and the Lightning Riders, and then it got shut down just like everybody else and every other company, if you will, or band or artist, and so it didn't feel, I wasn't inspired to make a brand new album after a freshly made new album when everything was shut down. It just, and I didn't know where we were headed or what was going to happen. So I was like, well, at least I could do a covers album, and then it'll I also think that when you cover a song, you learn something about, you learn a lot of things about a great song and a great artist. So I think it does chisel you as a songwriter a little bit, and it helps you to become a little better the next time you approach writing a song. At least I feel like it did for me, and it's always felt that way since I started covering songs when I was 16 years old in punk bands and stuff.
Well, that's how we all start off in bands. You do, Green Day and AC/DC covers and whatever. But I really enjoyed Eye in the Sky by with Beck. Like I listened to that again last night, and you had, of course, Branden Boyd and Portugal the Man, Wind of Change, which I'm hoping that will get pushed again out there because people are going to latch onto that with what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. But what was the one that you recorded first? Because there must have been one that kind of sparked it all.
Well, weirdly enough, that we're, I'm talking to you today. I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Beds Are Burning.
Wow.
I think it was that and Maniac of all songs that I tackled first. And then I'm like, okay, these sound believable. So let's just keep going. And I could make, 100 songs like this, but you also don't want to alienate your fans and the people who have helped you get to where you're at. So I didn't want to, make thousands of cover songs because then, so my favorite artists, you only want to hear so many cover songs, and then you want to hear original songs after that.
That's right. Yeah. Well, so Beds Are Burning, as an American, how'd you get introduced to that?
MTV was playing music videos actually back then.
Wow.
So it would be, I feel like, and I could be getting my time off slightly, but it was Beds Are Burning, Nothing Compares to You, Midnight Oil. I'm sorry, Nothing Compares to You, Sinead O'Connor, written by Prince originally. And I encourage anyone to listen to the original Prince version, which is available now to listen to. It's awesome. And then, so you get Sinead O'Connor, Midnight Oil, Metallica, Enter Sandman over and over. Of course, I think Midnight Oil predates the Black Album, but and I could be told, don't quote me on this because I could be fully wrong. But just those videos that were on over and over and over, and Midnight Oil was one of those videos. REM Losing My Religion over and over and over, and kind of the last era of music videos being interesting and mattering. So that's how I was introduced, probably through MTV.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough, because it was actually one of those iconic video clips, and same with some of the ones from In Excess, because they really embraced the MTV era. And you're right, with Metallica and REM, it was that certain era. And
In Excess kick was a big deal to my childhood. I remember the cassette tape. I remember there's a skateboard, so I'm thinking, do these guys skate? I don't think they did.
No.
And then And then I thought I was judging them like, wait, you guys aren't skaters, because I thought I was a skater at the time. But yeah, that record was huge, And their NXS is kind of you have to be of a certain age here in America to appreciate NXS. A lot of people, like my wife, who's much younger than me, she doesn't know who NXS is. But I forced her to know. Now she does.
Well, the fact that it was an accident, really, because the record company didn't want to do it because they were like, "What? It's too rhythmic. It's not rocky enough." And then they ended up doing it independently, and it just all worked out. It was one of those great albums. And going back to covers, it's definitely a great time for it. Like Weezer did their album, over maybe 2 years back. But over the years, you think about Nirvana's MTV Unplugged and all the covers on that. You had. Of course, the Stones doing their covers, and then there was 9 Inch Nails and Johnny Cash doing Hurt. It's actually a really, really smart way of reinvigorating some of those songs as well.
It's kind of paying tribute to the muse of it all, I suppose, and giving back to the well of knowledge, and then hopefully getting something out of it in return. I mean, like I said, each time I learn the song, a cover song, from someone else, I learned something that I haven't or hadn't thought of. And a lot of the songs on this covers album, when I first listened to them, I thought, well, over the years of knowing these songs so well, I thought, okay, this shouldn't be too difficult. Not that I will ever claim that any of them are as good or anywhere near the original, but once I looked under the hood, these songs were very well crafted, very complicated pop songs in a lot of ways, and quite a bit more detailed than I had originally thought. And I was lucky to have certain band members, my keyboard player Dan and my guitar player Zach, who were really helpful, because I thought, maybe one chord was one way, and they're like, no, it's actually, a different version of what you're doing. And so I did have the help of bandmates during that time. And they could do that from home as well, so that was cool.
Yeah. How'd you get Taylor Hanson onto Material Girl? I think his vocals were perfect for it.
Yeah. Well, when I first reached out, he's like, I don't know if I could sing that. I don't know how I'll sound. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you'll sound great because you're a great singer. And I've known him for some time. See, the thing about going on a journey of touring and having different ups and downs and, through music is that you meet interesting people along the way. Of various genres and people at different points in their career. And Taylor and the Hanson brothers, they came to a couple of the shows we did in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they were doing some sort of fundraiser when we first started coming around. And so I just kind of became buddies with them. And so anytime we're in town, they'll come to the show, and they're just really nice guys. I almost call them nice kids, but they're full adults obviously now.
It's freaky how much they've got families and all that stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I heard a rumor that he took it quite seriously. Like he even sort of sent you his demos back, sort of almost live, saying, "This is how I'm thinking of doing it. What do you think?" It was sort of looking for your approval, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that was cool. He sent me a video that I'll never share with anyone, but he sent me a video of him just singing the whole song. Right. And I thought two things. I thought, I'm really intimidated that he's this confident and just killing this vocal so hard right now. And then my second thought was, this is going to be great. And so he did such a good job. And he was one of my favorite performers on the whole record. And usually on each song, I would share the verses. So I'd sing the first verse and the artist would usually sing the second verse, etc. But he sounded so good on both verses and much better than I did. And so I just kept him on both verses.
Oh, it was one of the favorites off the album. Now, do you sit back and think about the stats sometimes and just go, 1.5 billion streams? Does it hit you sometimes?
Once in a while, yeah. It hits me when I'm not looking for it, Shutting down touring was a really, aside of how horrible that was, obviously, for many reasons, and how many people were affected in such a negative way. If we're allowed to look at any positive, just for a moment, one for me was that I was able to kind of get back to normal life and enjoying my marriage and, simple things like making a meal or watching a movie only starting now to remember that I have this career of this AWOL thing, because I haven't played a show in a long time, and we've announced our tour, so we will be touring, but it was kind of nice to take a long nap from having to be in the public eye at all. And I'm starting to stretch and get more comfortable with the idea of doing it again. But that was one of my favorite things, is not worrying about the shadow of travel. And I'm grateful to travel, but after 9 years, it got old at times and I needed a break. So it was weird. I didn't know. And I wish the break didn't come this way, obviously, but I think my body and soul needed a reset. And so I feel good about that.
Yeah, it came at the right time for a lot of people. For other people, it came at the wrong time, because I know releasing an album as you go into a pandemic.
That was releasing the album, and then here we go. We're going to go on this whole tour, and then getting shut down. That was radical, obviously. But I have no bearings to complain because of whatever. A record cycle was lost. That's fine compared to what other people had to deal with. And hopefully people are feeling better now and more optimistic about life in general.
Oh, yeah. Well, certainly when it comes to music, everyone's really excited. They're going to some live bands, and over here things are coming back, and we're worried about what could happen in the next few months with winter over here. But, we're all certainly, excited discovering new music as well. Because I think that was the one thing about the lockdown. I was able to discover way more music because I had more time. I could. Yeah. You'd share more music with your friends. You do listening sessions. It almost felt like you were closer to people then than you are now. It's strange.
Well, I called my mom every single night. I should continue on, but it's like the sun was setting. It's 5 p.m. here, 5:30, and I'm checking with my parents, every day.
Before we go, the podcast is called The Rider. You're about to go on tour. You announced that. I think I saw it yesterday. And what is your rider for your you have in your dressing room or when you're on the road? Is it a fairly simple one? Are there a couple of bottles of wine?
It used to be the standard deal where I'd show up and I'd go, what is this rider? This is so ancient. It felt like what I wrote up in 2011, and so I'm gonna have to reset that whole vibe, because I think it's more for the other guys in the band and some of the crew guys. Because I generally, this is such a boring, lame old guy answer, honestly, but I generally take care of myself in that way, where I'll go find the different shops or restaurants I personally want to go to, and I'll stock up for the week or whatever, instead of relying on a stranger to go find something for me. It seems I like to take care of business myself. So the answer is I don't know. So we'll have to reset. Used to be a little bit of some nice whiskey. I'll say, okay, so the last tour we did a tour with 21 Pilots. That was the last tour I did. And my guitar player and I loved to drink. I stopped drinking before shows a while ago. I felt like I needed more. I wanted to be better and have more control. And that was a really wonderful thing. It was also a lot of fun to drink before shows back in the day, but it's just not for me anymore. And so we called this drink the Boneyard, and what it is, and I feel like I invented this, and it's a play on the Baja Fog. So I should tell you what the Baja Fog is.
You tell me that too. Yeah.
Okay, so the Baja Fog is any Mexican beer of your liking. Could be Corona, could be Modelo, whatever, and you add tequila to the stem, and you could clear the stem for more tequila, but I would recommend just keeping it chill. Put a little bit of tequila in the stem and then a little bit of lime, which causes the fog mist in the stem. Then you shoot the stem and enjoy your beer. It's a little more tasty. That's the Baja Fog.
That's great.
So, and we lived on those for the longest time. And then, I realized I should probably cut down. And then on this tour, Zach and I would drink Guinness, which I fell in love with in Europe. And Guinness is a lot lighter than most people think. You probably already know this. And we would add whiskey to the Guinness, and we called that the Boneyard, because me and him would hang out and just talk all night in the front lounge, and we called it the Boneyard.
Love it.
Boneyards and Baja Fogs. That's the whole point of this talk.
I'm trying both of those when it's midday over here.
Yeah.
Well, it's so good to catch up, and you know, it's a brilliant album, and I really
Thank
hope, especially, my God, that song with Beck, "Eye in the Sky." I just sat back and listened to that last night, and I appreciate the original more now. So I really,
Cool.
really love that. But look, the album is out now. Aaron, great to catch up, and we'll catch up with you hopefully maybe on Australian tour.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for your time. Have a great night, or great day, rest of the day, I should say. All right, take care.
Thanks, man. Take care. See ya. There he is, Aaron Bruno, or as we know him as Awolnation, and what a great album it is. Make sure you go and check it out. It's a great album. It covers My Echo, My Shadows, My Covers, and Me. Featuring Jewel and Beck and Branden Boyd from Incubus. Now, next week on the podcast, a former member of Powderfinger. He's going to be talking about everything that happened upon leaving Powderfinger and then joining his favourite band, The Church. Ian Hogg, next week. Make sure you follow on Instagram, The Rider Pod, and I'll catch you then. This is The Rider with Becko.